They say, if you walk past the old St. Mary's boarding school after dark, you'll hear something. Not quite a cry, not quite a growl, rising from behind the decaying stone walls. Some say it's just wind. But the villagers who've lived in the shadow of the chapel for generations, they know better. What happened at St. Mary's was buried, not by accident, but by force. And beneath the silence, a legend remains. A woman, a protector, a monster. This is the story of Sister Agnes du Bois and what she became to protect her girls. The origins of St. Mary's. St. Mary's School for Girls was founded in 1864 in the remote countryside of northern France, nestled between dense black pine woods and the crumbling edge of the Cévennes Mountains. It was meant to be a refuge, a sanctuary for the fragile, fallen, or forgotten daughters of widows, aristocrats, and war-torn families. But even before the first brick was laid, the land bore a curse. The region's oldest maps list the grounds as Bois d'Alarmes or the Forest of Tears. Centuries earlier, medieval villagers claimed something prowled those woods. Livestock vanished. Blood trails ended in the snow. By the late 1600s, monks had fled their nearby abbey in terror, claiming one of their own had changed in the light of the wolf moon. The church denied it, of course. So when the estate was chosen as the new site for St. Mary's boarding school in the 1800s, officials dismissed the rumors. The building went up, the gates closed, and a generation of young girls walked straight into history's jaws. Enter Sister Agnes. She arrived quietly, like all the others. A transfer from a Parisian convent. Mid-30s. Stoic. Scarred. Her past was sealed. The church archives list her origin as inconclusive, presumed orphan. But some whispers say she was the sole survivor of a village fire in the Pyrenees, where mutilated corpses had been found weeks prior, and a strange black pelt was recovered near the ruins. Whether she chose St. Mary's or was sent there is unclear. But what is certain is that once Sister Agnes took over as headmistress, the girls were safe. No more disappearances. No more accidents in the woods. No more midnight intrusions. But the safety came with rules. Unspoken ones. The rules of St. Mary's. The students weren't allowed outside after dark. No one was permitted near the East Wing courtyard after dusk. No talking during evening prayers. And under no circumstances was anyone to enter the locked cellar beneath the chapel. If a girl disobeyed, she wouldn't be punished. She would simply be escorted to the infirmary. And the next day, she'd return, quiet, changed, her eyes wide, her skin pale. They called them the marked girls, and they never broke the rules again. An uneasy peace. Locals noticed fewer carts traveling to St. Mary's, fewer deliveries, fewer letters home. But from the outside, the school continued. Grades improved. Illness vanished. The girls seemed cared for. Once a month, a howling could be heard across the treetops, always on the full moon. The villagers stayed indoors. Dogs hid, crows scattered, and Sister Agnes, well, no one ever saw her on those nights. Except one man. The groundskeeper's story. In 1891, a new groundskeeper named Louis Mercier was hired. A war veteran. One eye. Unafraid. He told his son on his deathbed in 1933. I saw it. I saw her. On the third night of the blood moon. She was crawling, dragging her rosary behind her like it burned her skin. Then she stood, taller than any man. Her bones cracked as they reshaped. Her face had split open. Her eyes stayed human the longest. She wept while she changed. According to Louis, the transformation was not violent. It was mournful. He believed she did not want the curse. But she used it to protect the children. When the forest things came for the girls, she went out to meet them. And only she returned. A sudden silence. WY 1902. Something changed. Reports show a sudden exodus of staff. The school closed for renovations that never happened. A fire broke out in the bell tower, but the villagers were warned away by the clergy. St. Mary's was sealed. The church publicly blamed budgetary collapse. But in the decades that followed, every attempt to reopen the building failed. Contractors vanished. Surveyors fell ill. One man was found hanged by rosary beads in the confessional booth, teeth missing, as if ripped from his skull. The Vatican never commented. What was she protecting them from? In the 1960s, a priest named Father Rousseau, obsessed with unearthing forgotten religious cases, snuck into St. Mary's at night. He recorded only one line in his notebook before abandoning the church entirely. "The beast still weeps in the chapel vault. Its sorrow smells like blood." His notes describe claw marks in the stone, walls laced with scripture scratched in multiple languages, and bones, not of students, but of something else, something much larger. The church sealed St. Mary's in 1902, but the story didn't end there. Because in 1977, a group of architecture students from the University of Montpellier illegally entered the grounds, hoping to document ecclesiastical decay for a photography thesis. What they found wasn't just ruin. They found evidence. Discovery of the diary. Inside the half-rotted dormitory hall, beneath the warped floorboards of the East Wing, they found it. A leather-bound journal, wrapped in a torn school uniform. It belonged to a girl named Elise Martin, age 14, admitted to St. Mary's in the spring of 1899. Her final entry was dated November 5, 1902, 2 days before the fire. The pages reeked faintly of copper and ash. Here are excerpts, read aloud now for the first time in over a century. April 12, 1899. Sister Agnes doesn't blink often. She walks slowly, always listening. She prays with her eyes open. At night, she walks the halls with bare feet. Some girls say she hears voices in the walls. May 3, 1899. We were told never to ask about the howling in the woods. I did anyway. Sister Agnes knelt beside me and said, "The howl is not a cry of hunger. It's a cry of duty." June 18, 1899. Camille saw something at the courtyard well. A man, tall, wearing a coat of fur stitched to his skin. He didn't have eyes. He just listened. Camille won't speak now. July 9, 1899. The cellar door opened by itself tonight. Something was breathing below. I think Sister Agnes sleeps down there. October 1, 1902. The forest is getting louder. Something else is coming. Bigger than before. Sister says the old ones are waking. She says we must stay inside. But she's not sure she can stop it this time. November 5, 1902. Tonight is the last full moon before winter. The girls are huddled in the chapel. Sister Agnes locked herself in the cellar. She said, "Pray I return. But if I don't, bury this place. Salt it. Burn it." I'm writing this while the walls shake. Something is screaming downstairs. I don't know if it's her, or if it's something else. The deep cellar. In 1981, the French Ministry of Culture quietly funded an excavation of St. Mary's. Only 2 men were allowed access to the cellar, both armed. Their goal? Determine if the crypts beneath were structurally safe for restoration. They lasted 47 minutes inside. The lead engineer, Jacques Bernier, was later institutionalized. He spoke in riddles, refusing food, drawing the same image over and over. A woman, half wolf, half nun, curled in a fetal position, her hands clutched around a rosary soaked in blood. His partner, Etienne Colbert, left the country. He never gave a statement, but one of the field assistants smuggled out a Polaroid. It showed the lowest crypt wall, engraved with deep claw marks, and something else. A prayer scratched in Latin. Domini, libera me ipsa. Lord, deliver me from myself. Lore of the Blood Sisters. Several independent scholars of Catholic folklore point to St. Mary's as a likely origin point for the rumored Blood Sisters, a secretive group of female protectors who took supernatural oaths during times of plague, invasion, or war. According to a 1907 Vatican Black Registry, declassified briefly in 2003, there were 7 documented cases of female clergy exhibiting paranormal phenotypes under lunar provocation. Only one survived longer than a year. Agnes Dubois. She lived 19 years with the affliction. Most carriers did not last 2. Her survival was attributed to ritual fasting, communion with relics, and voluntary isolation. She reportedly refused all exorcism rites. The church considered her both a liability and a divine weapon. The Night of the Red Moon. Local oral history, passed down from a surviving scullery maid, gives an account of the final night at St. Mary's. She claimed that, On the evening of November 7th, 1902, a red moon rose earlier than expected. The forest groaned. A mass of antlered beasts circled the school. Not wolves, not men, but something in between. The girls were hidden beneath the chapel. Agnes emerged from the east wing, barefoot, dressed not in her habit, but in shimmering white robes, stitched with silver thread and crowned with thorns. She walked into the woods, and she howled. What happened next is uncertain. Some say the ground split. Some say the sky bled. But when dawn came, all was silent. The beasts were gone. The woods were burned. And Sister Agnes was never seen again. Only her rosary remained, clutched in the roots of a blackened oak. The forest remains unchanged. To this day, nothing grows in the eastern courtyard of St. Mary's. The soil is cold, even in summer. Birds do not land there. In 1999, a botanist studying fungal death patterns near the site noted that one species of mold in the chapel basement had DNA not found in any known genus. It responded to light by releasing a thin, acidic mist. Tests on lab rats showed elevated fear responses and cardiac arrest within 40 seconds. The sample was confiscated by military authorities 2 weeks later. No explanation was given. Multiple conflicting theories exist about Sister Agnes's transformation. Medical, a form of extreme, untreated lycanthropy-related psychosis brought on by trauma and isolation. Mythological, a pact with ancient entities known only as les hurlers, spirits that inhabit women abandoned by the church. Spiritual, a divine mutation, where martyrdom fused with bestiality in an act of ultimate sacrifice. But the most compelling theory? She chose it. She allowed the wolf to grow, not for vengeance, but for protection, to shield innocence from things worse than sin, not to become a monster, but to become the last barrier between the girls and whatever hunts in the dark. The Vatican cover-up and papal correspondences, modern sightings and DNA anomalies. The mystery of the mirror child, seen in 2021. The legend's revival in dark web, occult forums, and how one final message was found, hidden inside the chapel's altar. By the early 2000s, St. Mary's was nothing more than a scorched ruin hidden in overgrowth, accessible only by unpaved forest roads. But whispers of what happened there never stopped. Not in the church, not in the town, and not online. Because sometimes the darkest stories don't fade, they wait. The papal letters, Vatican Codex 118a. In 2016, a series of heavily redacted documents were anonymously uploaded to an encrypted forum used by independent theologians and exorcists. Labeled Codex 118a, the files were later traced back to the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, the Vatican body responsible for rooting out heresy. The content of the letters revealed something shocking. The Church knew about St. Mary's. The Church knew about Sister Agnes. The Church used her. Letter excerpt, October 1894. From Cardinal Dupont to Archbishop Marot. The woman in question exhibits the traits described in the Apocrypha of the Red Moon. Her alignment with lunar forces may be the only thing keeping the old ones at bay. Should she lose control or faith, the boundary will collapse. She is both shield and weapon. We must neither sanctify nor slay her, yet. Letter excerpt, February 1902. From Pope Leo XIII to Cardinal Rinaldi. Sister Agnes is not to be disturbed. If she requests more relics, provide them. If she fasts, let her. If she begins to howl before the moon rises, prepare the holy salts. Do not open the cellar. These letters confirm what folklorists feared. St. Mary's was not forgotten. It was buried, not because of evil, but because it was the final battleground of something older than the church. Modern investigations, 2021 sightings. In March 2021, a group of urban explorers from Lyon uploaded a low-light GoPro video to their now-deleted YouTube channel, Lesamiter and Marique. They had found St. Mary's. What began as a playful ghost hunt turned quickly into chaos. The footage, recovered and archived by occult archivists, shows a symbol etched in ash on the chapel floor, a wolf with a crown of thorns. Repeated phrases in Latin, custos innocentium, protector of the innocents. A brief, flickering image in the mirror behind the altar. A tall, cloaked figure with pale yellow eyes and elongated teeth, watching from behind the camera operator. Moments later, the screen blurs violently, the audio distorts into screeching, and the explorers flee the scene. One member, Lucas Renard, age 23, vanished 3 weeks later while hiking in the Vosges Mountains. His phone was found days after, recording a looped whisper. The she-wolf remembers your blood. The Mirror Child. In late 2022, a teacher visiting the ruins with a local folklore class took a photo of her students beside the overgrown East Wing arch. The image shows 6 students, but only 5 attended the trip. The 6th, a young girl in a St. Mary's uniform, holding a torn journal. Her face is bruised, her nails blackened. She does not cast a shadow. The girl matches no known missing person. An analysis of the photo metadata shows no tampering. Her eyes appear to reflect a full moon, despite the image being taken at 3:14 p.m. under a cloudy sky. She is now known online as the Mirror Child. The altar relic. In January 2024, the church quietly reclaimed the ruins and placed them under restricted access. But not before a member of an independent religious archaeology group, Dr. Isabel Chun, released a statement in a private academic journal. Inside the chapel's altar was a hidden compartment. Within it, a rosary soaked in blackened wax, a child's tooth wrapped in hair, and a scroll. The scroll is written in blood. Human blood. It ends with a single phrase. She took the sin into her flesh, so the others would not. The blood-stained cross. That same month, a cross was erected in silence near the border of the grounds. Not by the church, not by the government, but by someone unknown. Made of black iron, twisted with silver wire. No name, no inscription, only a single carving in Old French. I guarded them all, and I do not regret it. Every full moon since, it rusts overnight, and is clean again by morning. Locals leave offerings, communion wafers, feathers, doll shoes, rosaries. No one speaks of it aloud. Occult revival and the howling forums. In recent years, dark web occultists have begun referring to the St. Mary lineage, a theory that Sister Agnes's bloodline continues, passed through spiritual inheritance or genetic drift. One user, claiming to be a descendant of the protector, posted this cryptic message in 2023. The she-wolf is not dead. She is dormant. Her curse is not a punishment. It is a covenant. When the last sanctuary falls, she will rise again. Moments later, their account was deleted. The IP was traced to a rural village, 4 kilometers from the ruins of St. Mary's. What does the Church say today? The official stance of the Vatican is silence. Inquiries to the Archdiocese of Montpellier are redirected. Requests to review the original chapel blueprints are denied. But in 2023, during a leaked live stream of a closed-door Vatican conference, a cardinal was heard saying one phrase before the mic cut out. If the she-wolf wakes again, may God help us all. They called it St. Mary's School for Girls. But to the few who know what really happened, it was never a school. It was a prison, a battleground, and for one woman, a sacrifice. This is how the legend ends, or doesn't. Because some things don't die. They wait. The night the chapel burned. The official records claim a lantern tipped during evening prayers. That the fire started in the bell tower and spread downward. But local accounts say otherwise. On the night of November 7th, 1902, the moon turned red far earlier than expected, a rare eclipse recorded by astronomers in Paris, though it puzzled them. The lunar shadow seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. One journal entry noted, at 10:37 p.m., a shock wave was heard across the forest. Trees bent, glass shattered in nearby farmhouses. A sound rose from the chapel, not a scream. A chorus of screams, layered like wind and weeping. Survivors, few and scattered, describe what they saw. A massive silhouette emerging from the east wing. Part woman, part wolf, crowned in silver light. Clawed, cloaked, grieving. She stood between the girls and the forest. She faced the darkness and howled once. And then, the sky ignited. Not with fire, but with lightless flame, black and crimson, flickering against the stars. And when it was over, the forest was still, the chapel was gutted, and the beasts were gone. Where did she go? Sister Agnes's body was never recovered. Only her habit, torn and bloodied, was found beside the altar. Her rosary, twisted and melted, lay beside a footprint too large to be human, yet unmistakably hers. But the villagers never buried a body. Instead, they buried the chapel, and they buried the truth. Some believe she died in battle that night. Others believe she became the land itself. Her soul fused with the roots and stones. But there's another theory, one that surfaces when the wind turns cold in the pines, that she is still beneath St. Mary's. Not dead, not even sleeping, just watching, waiting. The Relic Vault, Vatican Black Room 9B. In 2019, an anonymous whistleblower released a fragment of inventory documents from the Vatican's Black Archive, specifically Room 9B, referred to unofficially as the Vault of Living Saints and Damned Martyrs. Listed under Unclassified Quarantine Assets, the entries include item number 1446, rosary fused with bone matter, emits high-frequency howling under lunar conditions. Item number 1448, silver cross etched with unknown glyphs, reactive to animal blood. Item number 1449, vial labeled Agnes D. Contents unknown, sealed in 1903. Notes beside these items include disturbing observations. Thames display signs of awareness. Storage requires lead lining and salt. During the eclipse of 1982, the rosary hummed for 47 seconds. Why they feared her. Sister Agnes was not a monster. She was a barrier, a wall between innocence and something far older than sin. The old ones, as her diary called them, weren't just creatures. They were principles, forces of instinct unbound. Hunger, rage, lust, death, entities that feed not just on flesh, but on weakness. And she made herself a curse, so the girls would not be taken. She let live inside her. She became the howl, not because she wanted to, but because no one else would. The last student. In 1989, a woman named Colette Morand, aged 99, gave a final statement before passing in a care home in Nice. She was listed as a former student of St. Mary's, admitted in 1901, age 11. Her family said she never spoke of the school until her last day. She whispered. She held my hand when I cried. She brushed my hair every night. When the thing came, she stood between us. She kissed its face before she tore out its throat. They called her damned, but she was a nun and a wolf, and she saved us all. Colette died that night. The nurses reported claw marks on the window pane the next morning. Why the legend still haunts us. St. Mary's has long since vanished beneath moss and ruin. But the story has not, because we still ask, what would we become to protect the innocent? What would we sacrifice to hold the line? What would it cost to become a monster so others never meet it? Sister Agnes answered those questions. With flesh, with bone, with blood. She didn't need a halo. She needed claws. And somewhere, if you listen hard enough, past the veil of wind and pine, you might still hear her. A single distant howl, not angry, not lost, but eternally watching. Epilogue. The girls were never touched. The most astonishing part of this entire saga, not a single student ever died under Sister Agnes's care. No disappearances, no novedades, no names listed in the village death rolls. Whatever darkness circled St. Mary's, it never laid a finger on the girls, because something or someone always got there first.